Alrighty, so let us now jump straight into talk about some of the news that has happened in this past week in MLS, because judging by the wall of text, there's a lot of news that we are going to talk about in this video, and I have a feeling this could be one of the longest news of the week episode that I have done. But first of all, just a reminder that tomorrow is a big day in MLS in terms of transfers, because tomorrow is the end of the second transfer window, and you know that I am definitely going to make a video talk about deadline day and look at all the deals that has happened in the transfer window deadline day, because just like how it is in Europe, transfer deadline day in MLS can be crazy at time, and I'll definitely do a video talk about all the deals that happen in the secondary transfer window deadline day. But the first big news that we're going to talk about is actually an outgoing transfer, and that of course is Chelsea has officially signed Chicago Fire goalkeeper Gaga Slonina for $15 million. Now, this has been a rumor that's been surrounded for this past couple of weeks, and even maybe in this past month, that it seems like Gaga Slonina was getting very close to go to Chelsea. And when I first reported this, I think a couple of News of the Week episode ago, I didn't think this was going to happen. Like, I didn't think that Slonina going to Chelsea is going to happen, because he might end up to be becoming one of those numerous players that Chelsea basically loans and part of the loan army. And when you're part of the Chelsea loan army, it's not a good feeling. And it's safe to say that maybe this could be the case again, though Chelsea did spend a lot to get Gaga Slonina, and in terms of getting a player from MLS, like $15 million is what Chelsea basically paid to get Gaga Slonina, and certainly a price tag that I think is a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought maybe it was going to be like 7-figure, but in my I didn't think it was going to be like 8 figures. But I guess that's how it is with Premier League team, where they have so much money that they're not afraid to overpay player and spend some big eye-watering kind of number in terms of outgoing transfer fee. And also, not only this makes by far the biggest outgoing transfer fee in the Chicago Fire history, but it's one of the biggest one. And yeah, we'll see whether or not if Slonina will do well with Chelsea. I mean, obviously, he alongside with Zach Steffen and Matt Turner are probably not going to be a regular starter for Chelsea. I mean, Edouard Mendy is basically the starter of that team. But my hope with Gaga Slonina, and I know I said that I don't want him to kind of join the loan army of Chelsea, but it feels like he's going to have to do so. I mean, he needs to, of course, get some minutes, and there could be, I could have a feeling that he could be joining another team very soon, because like I said, you go to Chelsea, and especially you're not a well-known kind of player, you're basically put right into the loan army, and it's going to be interesting to see where Slonina plays, and that if he does play for different teams on loan, it definitely can build up his stock in terms of the U.S. men's national team, because for many people, well, everybody have said that Slonina might be the future in terms of the number one spot for the U.S. men's national team. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is a signing that actually happened last week, but this actually happened right after when I did a News of the Week episode. Don't you just hate whenever there's a big news that happened right after when I did a News of the Week episode? But the big signing came from Austin FC, as they have signed DP attacker Emiliano Rigoni from Sao Paulo. Now, this has been rumors that been talked about for the past week or two, and that it seems like it was going to happen, and it finally happened. And in some way, this is definitely the replacement for Cecilio Dominguez after Austin decided to terminate his contract, and that they need to have a replacement for him. And I think Rigoni is definitely a good one. I've heard some good things about him, and especially a big part of him decided to go to Austin FC is him reuniting with his Zenit St. Petersburg teammate Sebastian Giroussi in that. So yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be a very, very good player. I mean, they are expected to be the case, because so far in terms of DP signing, Austin has kind of hit out of the park at least 2 of the 3 DP signing. I mean, with Sebastian Giroussi, that is probably going to go down as one of the best designated players signing we've seen in league history, with him now potentially be an MVP contender. And also, I think the other DP is Alex Ring in that central defensive mid spot, and that seems like it's been good too, because he has simply been the one that has protected that very fragile back line of Austin. I mean, when you look at this back line of Austin, I wouldn't say that they have performed very well, but because of the fact that Alex Ring has done a great job in terms of protecting that. That number of goals that they concede isn't as bad as what you think when you look at this back line, where there's been times they have been very suspect, and also a combination of Brad Stuver being an absolute god in terms of between the stakes is maybe the reason why Austin hasn't given up as much goals as you would think that back line should be. Now, the Colorado Rapids have acquired former Sporting KC midfielder Felipe Gutierrez. Remember Felipe Gutierrez a couple of years ago when he was considered one of the best midfielder in the league, and he was just an absolute slam dunk signing for Sporting KC, and I think they even signed him to a DP contract. Yeah, safe to say that he has took a huge fall from grace, and a lot of that is injuries, with the way that after he had that spectacular, I think back in 2018, injuries basically ruined him to a point where Sporting KC just feel like, yeah, we're going to just move on from him because he just can't stay healthy. And now it seems like the Colorado Rapids are trying to take a chance to see that hopefully they'll get the 2018 version of Felipe Gutierrez. I mean, in some ways, I'm not sure if this is going to be a signings that they're going to give him regular minutes, because they do have some decent midfielder in that Rapids team. Although, knowing the fact that Jack Price is still on the IR right now, I guess maybe this is just kind of his reinforcement there. But for the Rapids, we know before that they have signed some players that are kind of like reclamation project or some players that used to be good, and once they come to the Rapids, they turns out to be well, and we'll see whether or not if that's going to be the case with Felipe Gutierrez. I mean, I didn't think that I would hear that name it for ever again, with the way that after the 2020 season when Sporting KC just had enough and they decided to kind of release him because of the numerous injury concern that he has. I didn't think we were going to hear him from again, and for the Rapids, they're hoping that he won't have that same sort of problem that pretty much is the reason why he has kind of become a little bit washed up compared to what we saw a couple of years ago. Now, Toronto FC have sent Jacob Schafelberg on loan to Nashville SC. Remember when Jacob Schafelberg was considered be a well-known talent coming out of the TFC academy? Yeah, things have not worked out for him, and in some way, I think his development has really ruined because they decided to put him as a left back when clearly he's not a left back, and I'm pretty sure that hopefully now that he's going to Nashville SC, I mean, if he is looking for minutes by going to Nashville, I'm not sure if he's going to get that, because Nashville are pretty good in terms of the depth in the fullbacks and also in the winger position. But obviously, I think this is also a move for him to maybe join for a more competitive team. And like I said, when you look at both of these teams, who I think might have the best opportunity to make the playoffs. I mean, I definitely fancy that TFC can make a run, especially with some of those Italian import that they made. But with Nashville, how good they have been this season, I think he might have a chance to have some playoff kind of games. If he is looking for a team that is going to make the playoffs, then Nashville might be that one to be the case. But again, this is only a loan deal, and that this is also one of those rare kind of situation where we have seen an MLS team decide to loan another player to another MLS team. We don't see a lot of that, where there's been inter kind of league loan deal, as we see maybe with a lot of the loan deals coming in MLS, where most of the teams that have loaned these players are players that are loaned from a South American club or even in a European club. Now, DC United have acquired David Ochoa in RSL in exchange for $300,000 general allocation money. So we've been talking about for the past couple of News of the Week episode about Ochoa potentially leaving RSL to go to DC United, and it has pretty much confirmed, and I expect him to pretty much slot into that number one spot straight away. I mean, no, this is no disrespect toward their current replacement number one goalkeeper in Federico Romo, but you can clearly see that they definitely need a number one and a well proven kind of MLS talent goalkeeper in that spot to replace the injured Bill Hamid. And I think David Ochoa is going to be that player, and especially he still have a lot to prove. Like, that he still wants to get himself to reach his potential that we thought that he had when he was with RSL, and especially trying to get into the El Sharif picture in terms of the goalkeeper position. So yeah, I think he is definitely a guy that it was pretty clear that he didn't want to be with RSL anymore because he doesn't want to be sitting behind second fiddle with Zach McMath, and that for a young goalkeeper you definitely want to have some minutes if you want to continue your player development, and certainly him going to DC, I think that will definitely help with him getting regular minutes. Now, the Philadelphia Union signed Kenyan midfielder Richard Odata from Red Star Belgrade. Now, I don't know a lot about this player, but knowing the fact that he, of course, have signed with the Union, something tells me he's going to be a decent player, because so far, pretty much most of the signing that the Union have signed ever since the Ernest Tanner era has been a hit, and that, I think most likely he's going to be used as depth in terms of the midfield star, and maybe a guy that is going to replace Stuart Finley in that spot, which, knowing the fact that Stuart Finley got to move back to Europe, and that the Union is able to cash out in terms of that deal, something tells me they can do the same thing with this one. So yeah, overall, I think it's gonna a good signing for the Union. I mean, to be fair, any signing for them is considered good nowadays. It's been very rare you see the Union have made a bad signing, and we'll see how he's going to do. Now, Orlando City have signed Peruvian international midfielder Wilder Cartagena. I think that's how you say it. And overall, I think this might be the Sebastian Mendes kind of replacement, or another midfielder to add in the already very good depth that they had in terms of the midfield position. Now, this is also another player that I don't know a whole lot about. I have heard rumors that, even though he's been with the Peruvian national team, he's not a regular starter, and he's kind of mediocre at best. But hey, if you need to have a depth player or have a utility player in the midfield, that's good enough. And overall, I think this should be a good signing for Orlando City to continue to boost their depth in the midfield that they already are very good at. Speaking of midfielders, Minnesota United have signed Robin Lod to a contract extension, and I know Robin Lod is not a midfielder, but recently with the way that the Loons have been so shorthanded in terms of that position, it's getting to a point where they actually played him in that spot, and for the most part, he actually has had success in terms of that spot. Well, that is until the last game against the Portland Timbers, where alongside with the back line, and he pretty much were not factor in that midfielder. I mean, to be fair, nobody play well in that game in terms of the defense and in the midfield, but overall, in terms of this contract extension, I mean, this was something that we were wondering if it was going to happen, especially there's been a lot of rumors that Lod was going to be going back to Europe and potentially going to France. It seems like most likely the Loons are going to lose him during the summer transfer window, and it seems like that rumor is now put aside because he have signed a contract extension, and I'm happy that he signed with us and continue to play, because he has made such a big impact to this team, especially the goal scoring department, when this team earlier this season and also last season was struggling in terms of that, because he was like the only guy that can actually put the ball in the back of the net. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about the worlds of transfer rumors and reports, because the biggest reports that came out just today or also yesterday is that there is a report suggesting that the LA Galaxy is set to sign Ricky Pyke from Barcelona as a free agent. And yes, that's the same Ricky Pyke that when he came to Barcelona, coming out of the famed La Masia Academy, he was supposed to be being known as the next Xavi. Safe to say that things have not worked out for him, and that he hasn't been getting minutes for Barcelona, and it seems like they've already found potentially their next Xavi in the name of Gavi, who seems like what they were supposed to hope that Ricky Pyke, of course, was going to be. But now that he is going to be coming to MLS and coming for the Galaxy, which, by the way, there's been talks that not only he's going to go to the Galaxy, but there could be talk that he's there not to just have some fun in the famed LA Lights. He is there to trying to rediscover his career and just rediscover the potential that he has had, because again, a lot of people said that this was the next Xavi, this was the next wonder kid coming out of Barcelona and coming out of the famed La Masia Academy, and again, safe to say it hasn't worked out for him, and we'll see whether if it will work out for the Galaxy, because the Galaxy has I know that they have known to sign some well known player out of Europe, but signing a fail wonder kid is definitely not one of those things. So it's kind of interesting that they decided to do this, and we'll see whether or not if it will work out for him, because again, it feels like nowadays in MLS there seems to be some very weird kind of narrative in terms of transfer, where it used to be we know that a specific team will sign these kind of player and it's not a big surprise, but then now you start to see in a world where the LAFC is now the one that is signing all those big European superstar name, and the Galaxy are the one that are not doing it. Instead, they decide to sign some big name young players that was considered to have a lot of potential, didn't quite work out, and now they decide to sign him and hope to develop them in a good way. And in some ways, it could be good for the Galaxy too, because if they can develop keep there's going to be a lot of teams that is going to look to get him, and that they could get a big transfer fee outgoing because of it. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is that the New England Revolution is reported to trade Sebastian Lletget to FC Dallas in exchange for $1.3 million in general allocation money. And don't be surprised that this is going to be a player that I'll mention in my video tomorrow, talk about all the transfer deadline move. And in fact, there's going to be some names that in this news of the week, I'll mention it again as it is confirmed. But yeah, this one looks like it is going to be very close to being complete, and it's unfortunate that Lletget, when he joined New England, we thought that he was going to be even better than when he was with the Galaxy. Especially he has now have a good partnership with Carlos Gil, and safely say that has not worked out, and now he is potentially going to go to Dallas. And Dallas is a team that they are not only now started to spend more money in the transfer market, but they're spending more money in terms of getting proven MLS player. I mean, we know that they, of course, signed Paul Arriola during the primary transfer window, and now it seems like they're trying to make a big splash again, getting Sebastian Lletget, and continue to hope to that he is going to be another player that's going to take them to the playoffs once again this season. But yeah, like I said, we'll see whether if this is going to complete. I mean, most likely I think it is going to be complete, and I'm again going to mention that in my transfer deadline day secondary transfer window in MLS tomorrow. Now, Charlotte FC is reported to sign center back Alison Melenda from League 2 club Rodez, and this looks like it was a signing that they're looking to do, because there are also reported that they're going to trade Christian Makoun to the New England Revolution. Now, obviously, Christian Makoun, during his time with Charlotte, it's safe to say that it hasn't really quite worked out. Like, I was hoping that it was going to work out with him, showing some promise during his day with Inter Miami, and now him going to Charlotte FC. Maybe he can continue to be a regular starter, and it just seems like that has not been the case. He's been more of a fringe kind of player, and that they decided that maybe they need to think about trading him to another team so that they can get some allocation money. But also, they're already thought about replacement for him, and that again, this guy called Alison Melenda. I don't know a lot about him. I don't know whether if he's going to be decent or not. But also, I think maybe Christian Makoun might be another player that fell victim in terms of the coaching change that's going to happen. Because, again, I think he did kind of get some minutes when he was under Miguel Angel Ramirez, but now ever since Christian Lattanzio took over this Charlotte FC team, he is not getting more minutes. And it feels like a lot of Miguel Angel Ramirez guy are pretty much now moving on for Charlotte FC, and that yeah, I think again Christian Makoun might be one of those players, though. Let's see with them eventually sending him to New England and replace him with Alison Melenda might be an answer in terms of trying to booster that depth that they had in the defense, which in terms of depth, that's been a big issue for this Charlotte team really since day one, where we all heard about the lack of depth and the lack of player roster that they had so far in their expansion year, and that it definitely have shown the case in their expansion year. Now, moving on in the next news, we got Haris Mudunian set to part way with FC Cincinnati to return to Europe and be closer with his family. Now, anytime when a player decided to go back to their native country or decide to go back to Europe because they want to be closer with family, I definitely respect that, because after all, family is first, and that especially in this case with Haris Mudunian, what he has done ever since coming to MLS with the Union and now with FC Cincinnati, you knew the time was going to come that he was going to leave, and that maybe even hang up his boots. But it seems like that's not going to be the case, because it seems like he's actually going to be going to the Netherlands and join PZC Zwolle. But like I said, it seems like this is pretty much confirmed, and that it's also interesting that he says that his last game that he's going to be playing for FC Cincinnati is going to be against the Philadelphia Union. And if that is not the most full circle kind of storylines that we seen before in MLS, I don't know what is, because like I said, it makes perfect sense that in his final game with FC Cincinnati and his final game in his MLS career is against the team that basically give him the chance to come to MLS and develop to be a decent midfielder in this league, and maybe even one of the most underrated number 6 in this league. But yeah, certainly for Haris Mudunian, I wish him the best, and that he's gonna definitely be forever well loved in the FC Cincinnati community, but especially the Philadelphia Union community too. Now, there is a report suggesting that Quakes defender Marcos Lopez has completed a 7-figure transfer to Feyenoord, and as well as bad as this season has been with the Quakes, I think this is one of the good positive that they can come out of. And I remember when the Quakes got Marcos Lopez, I even made a single video talking about how I think he could have some good potential. And while in his first couple of years he definitely struggled for the Quakes, he definitely turned a corner in these last 2 seasons, and that I think this is an example of sometimes you need to get to show some patience in terms of a lot of these young South American players. Like a lot of these guys, they face a lot of adversity playing in a new league and playing in a new country at such a young age, and it's going to take time to adjust that. And I feel like Marcos Lopez is kind of part of why, if you show some patience, then eventually they will develop to be a decent player, and he has been very, very big in terms of that fullback role for the Quakes. And while this is definitely going to be a bit of a loss for the Quakes, especially the fact that also means that we're going to have to play Paul Marie in his spot. And you know how my feelings, and certainly a lot of Quakes fans feeling about Paul Marie starting in that fullback spot. But it's not like the Quakes are going to do anything for the rest of the season, and that if you're going to try to maybe get some money so that you can hopefully sign some players in the off season and in the winter transfer window, then you might as well sell off your best asset, and that Marcos Lopez is definitely one of it. And again, it's a 7-figure transfer. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest outgoing transfer that we see the Quakes, of course, set a player oversee. Now, the Quakes are also linked with U.S. men's national team international center back John Anthony Brooks. I mean, remember John Brooks, where he was just an absolute rock for this U.S. men's national team, though obviously injuries has been a big problem in his career, and that's kind of the reason why his national team career kind of cut short, because he alongside with Omar Gonzalez was an absolute rock in that back line for the U.S. men's national team. And now it seems like for a while there was that rumor that he was maybe going to come to MLS, and it seems like this might be the time to do so, though I didn't think the Quakes were going to be that team to get him. And it's not a big surprise the Quakes are looking for defensive reinforcement, because I mean, after all, this team is the worst defensive team in the league. And I'm not sure whether or not if John Brooks will fix that, because I do worry that he is kind of in the wrong side of 30s, but I guess maybe at least he will bring some leadership into that back line. And sometimes if you want to have a good back line, you always need to have a player in that back line that will produce good leadership, and that I think John Brooks will definitely do that with his veteran presence, not only overseeing Europe but also with the national team. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about some injury news. Atlanta United defender George Campbell is out 2 to 3 weeks with an abducted injury because, after all, it's not a news of the week by talk about injury news without another Atlanta United player being injured. Like, I mean, I've said so many times, they are basically the most cursed team this season in terms of injuries. Like, guys are just going down with injuries left and right in this team. But at least the good news in this one is that it's not a long-term injury. It's only two to 3 weeks, but I can't just not mention the narrative about Atlanta United of the fact that this season has been a very disappointing season in their standard, and it's definitely a season that they have underachieved a lot. There are definitely some will say that a lot of that is that because they've just been so cursed with the injury bug, and that pretty much half of their starting 11 has been took out because of ACL injury. Now, speaking of long-term injuries, unfortunately for the Portland Timbers, they have to have one of their players suffer a long-term and a season-ending injury, and that player that's going to be suffering that is Felipe Mora, who undergo season-ending surgery. I think it's season-ending knee surgery that he is going through, and that's definitely a big disappointment for the Timbers, especially with the way that, yes, I know Jaroslav Ničkoda has really got going for this team, but after that, that's when there's a big question mark in terms of the number 9 row. I mean, I guess they do still have that guy called Nathan that they, of course, signed him out from the T2 squad, even though he hasn't really been made appearance for the Timbers for a while. So I wonder what happened to him. Did he get injured or something like that? If you're a Timbers fan, let me know in the comments below, like, what happened to him, because he was getting regular minutes when he was from T2, and now I don't think he has made an appearance with them. He might actually be injured. And then the other option is Marvin Larrea, who, Marvin Larrea is having an okay season, but he's more kind of a utility player. But, losing Felipe Mora, who has been a proven goal scorer for the Timbers side, and now him being out, it does lose that option. The fact that the Timbers might have a good replacement in case if Ničkoda does injure, and that also kind of demands Ničkoda to hopefully stay healthy for the rest of the season, because if he doesn't stay healthy for the rest of the season, they could be once again having the same issue that they've been having in the beginning of the season, which is who exactly is that number 9 that can score the goals for this Timbers team. Now, speaking of injuries, moving to talk about injuries related to the U.S. men's national team, and it's not a good one because Weston McKennie, he is reported that, or actually, I don't know why I wrote a D next to it. It's not McKennie, it's McKennie here, but he could be out 3 to 4 months after he dislocated his shoulder in a friendly game that Juventus was playing. And yeah, let's just hope that this rumor of him being out 3 to 4 months is not true, because this reports being mentioned just a couple of days ago. We're only 3 months away from the World Cup in Qatar, and that Weston McKennie is definitely one, if not the most important piece in this U.S. men's national team, and certainly the most talented piece, because we know what he can do for the U.S. men's national team, especially in that midfield row, and that he has been battling for some injury in these past years or so, but let's just hope that this injury is going to not affect his chance to potentially be with the U.S. men's national team. I mean, I'm no doctor, but from what I heard, a dislocated shoulder, 3 to 4 months, that seems like a little bit long to trying to recover. I've seen players that have dislocated shoulder, and all you have to do is just kind of pop it back in, and you can play for the rest of the game. So I'm not buying the fact that he's going to be out for that long of a period. But that being said, if in case the worst does come, where he might be missing for the World Cup for the U.S. men's national team, this is a good opportunity now to have the other option, and I might have the Georgi Mihajlovic kind of hype train that's been ringing for, or that's been sound for multiple time, and that it also kind of forced Greg Berhalter to finally do something that I've been mentioning so many times, and maybe even some U.S. men's national team fans have mentioned for so many times, that should have happened a long ago, and that of course is put Georgi Mihajlovic in that spot, because the season that Mihajlovic has had with Montreal, if he didn't have suffer that injury in the middle of the season, he would have definitely been on point with Sebastian Driussi in terms of the MVP race this season. So yeah, I feel like he definitely could be the guy to replace McKennie. Especially, he's definitely gonna get that call up in September. Like, I would be shocked if he doesn't get that call up in September and see what he can do once again in the national team level. But now, moving on in terms of the next news, and unfortunately on a sad note, CF Montreal assistant head coach Jason Detello unfortunately passed away from the age of 37, and certainly it was a very sad day in the Montreal community, especially what he means to this team, of him not only being a player for this team, but also being a youth head coach, and almost follow a similar route that Wilfred Nancy basically took, a long time youth head coach before being promoted into the senior level, and now he of course was promoted in the assistant level. And even though he has been battling cancer for the past couple of years, or even this past years or so, still sad that unfortunately he lost his battle, and at an age of 37. I mean, to lose someone with cancer at that young of an age, yeah, that is definitely very sad to see, and certainly my condolences is toward his family, and certainly again, a sad time in the Montreal community, and also him being in Montreal means even more with the connection that he has with his team. And by the way, speaking of death, it's been a very sad past couple of days in terms of death with legendary sports icon. I mean, we heard a couple of days ago that legendary basketball player Bill Russell passed away, and then yesterday, probably the most legendary broadcaster in baseball and one of the most legendary broadcaster in sports, in Vince Scully, also passed away at an age of 94. And yeah, it's been a rough week in terms of big name that has passed on, but certainly my condolences toward all of them. And that yeah. Now moving on in terms of more of a positive news, because I've been talking mostly about injuries and death in this News of the Week episode. But I talk about how Gonzalo Higuain has won the Player of the Week. I mean, he did score a hat trick in the game against FC Cincinnati, and I talk about how anytime when you score a hat trick, unless if another player score a hat trick in a match week, you're basically guaranteed to win Player of the Week, and it's not surprised that Higuain got that spot. And you can definitely see that Higuain, he is definitely in a resurgent run in these past couple of games, and he definitely won that number one back from Leo Campana. And now he also has made it even more difficult for Inter Miami, the fact that, well, now that Higuain is starting to heat up, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to keep him when the season is over? I think his contract actually ends this season. I mean, for a while it seemed like Leo Campana was that guy, but Campana hasn't been playing well in these last couple of games, and Higuain has took advantage of it. So yeah, certainly congratulations on him winning the Player of the Week, but it also now makes a headache for Phil Neville and for Inter Miami, the fact that, yeah, now what do you do when the season comes? Do you want to keep Higuain around when it looked like that answer is a definite no just a couple of months ago? And then finally, MLS have released the All-Star festivity schedule and the jersey that all the All-Star player is going to be wearing for the All-Star game in a couple of days. By the way, I am very excited about the All-Star game, especially I'm actually going to be going there in a couple of days, going to Allianz to watch this All-Star game. Now, in terms of the jersey itself, unfortunately, I don't have my phone right now to show you the jersey, but the jersey itself, I mean, it's kind of reminds me a lot of the Loons home kit that they're wearing this season, where they're wearing the I forgot what was the name is, but it's all black. It's kind of like a dark kit, and I kind of mentioned how I had some mixed opinions about it. I mean, I do like black jersey, but I thought that one was kind of a little bit too simple, and that I feel like this maybe is another one of it where they call it the charcoal jersey. It feels kind of just, it was like all black with like the Target logo, and that the only good touch is that they did have the Minnesota state shape on the bottom, and then at the back you have the Loons wing there. So maybe that is kind of the only reason why I might think about buying it. I mean, I obviously haven't bought the jersey yet, because I know that if you decide to buy any All-Star merchandise, they're not going to arrive in time before the All-Star game starts. So it's best that if you're going to get those gear, you know, you hope to maybe attend the All-Star game in the Twin City, or maybe if there's going to be some teams that are selling All-Star gear, which, by the way, you know, when I go to the Quakes game later tonight, I'm going to be keeping an eye on whether they are selling some All-Star jersey, because if they are, then I'll definitely buy it from them, so I don't have to go to Minneapolis next week to, of course, get the jersey there. But yeah, overall, you know, I'm still debating whether should I buy it or not. I mean, maybe I should, because it does look very similar to the Loons night kit. Oh, that's the name that I was thinking about, that they of course named the home kit that they're wearing this season. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the news of the week. Like I said, you know, it's been a relatively long video, but the fact that I was able to get through like 20 plus news point with just a video that is under 40 minutes, I think it's kind of considered a miracle. But in case if there's any news I didn't mention in this long list of news that has happened in the past week, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.